What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today, it is officially draft day, the day we've been waiting for since the Super Bowl ended. It is April 28th. We are just over 6 hours away from the draft starting, and I have for you my final mock draft for 2022. I have made two of these in the last 2 days if you want to check those out. The first two, I tried to make them as different as possible, see how things play out, if one team takes this player and this player, how does that, affect the rest of the draft, especially the middle and late rounds. Today, I'm going to be going with what I really think is going to happen in the draft. It gets so hard after pick 6 or 7 in any draft. It gets really hard to predict things, but I'm going to do my best to to predict the first round and just see how it goes. And again, this is basically what I think is going to happen. So, without further ado, let's get into it. I'll shut up and with this introduction, and let's get right into it. So, I think with the first overall pick, it seems really, really likely that Jacksonville's going Trayvon Walker, unless they're just throwing a huge smoke screen or do a complete 180. I don't see why they would. I mean, they have the number one overall pick. It doesn't matter if you say who you're going to take or not. No one else can take them. I do think they're going Trayvon Walker. That seems to be the consensus pick here. So Trayvon Walker it is. They shore up an edge defender, and they get a good edge defender. Now, I wouldn't necessarily take Trayvon Walker, but if Jacksonville, if that's who they believe is the best, then that's who they should get. Next on our list is the Detroit Lions, and I think a lot of people are saying, well, if Jacksonville goes Trayvon Walker, then they have to go Aiden Hutchinson. And I think a lot of that, honestly, one, Hutchinson's a great player. He could easily be number one overall. He could easily go to the Lions. But I do think a lot of people automatically assume that because he played at Michigan. And, he played at Michigan, Detroit, a hometown kid. And the NFL just doesn't work that way. You take the best player. You take the best player, especially when you're picking at number 2. From what I'm hearing, just from some inside sources, I guess, a lot of people are saying that they're going to pick Thibodeau. That Thibodeau's going to go number 2 to the Lions. They were at his pro day. They were interviewing him. They went back the day after. I think they really like Thibodeau, and I think that's who they want to take. And could be the best pick. It's so hard in the draft. It could be Walker, it could be Thibodeau, it could be Hutchinson, it could be someone else that becomes the best edge defender. So I think Lions go Thibodeau. That's just what I'm hearing, especially today. That's strong interest in him. Next up with the Houston Texans, I think with Lovie Smith as the head coach, he knows the importance of defense and what this league is turning into or has turned into. And I think he goes Derek Stingley Jr. At number 3 to give him hopefully a stud cornerback, a lockdown corner. I think he fits Lovie Smith's scheme and what he wants to do on defense a little bit better than Sauce Gardner. And so I think that Derek Stingley Jr. is going number 3 overall, which is kind of crazy considering the guy hasn't done anything the last 2 years. But his talent is just that good to where he's still a top 3 pick, even though he hasn't really done much in recent years. Number 4 for the Jets, I'm just checking my list here. I have Ikem Ekwonu here. I have what the Jets think is the best player or offensive lineman in the draft. The dude is a monster run blocker, and he can develop into the passing game for sure. I mean, he's already going to be a stud in the run game, and he can develop his pass blocking a little bit more, which I think he will. And they shore up that offensive line. I think they really want to go all in with Zach Wilson and just surround him with the best talent as you can, and that's exactly what you should do. You can't do another Sam Darnold like the Jets did, where they. His best receiver over his 3 years or so that he started was Jamison Crowder. And Crowder's a nice receiver, but if he's your best receiver, you have a problem. And hopefully the Jets have learned from that, and they're going to surround Wilson with everyone they have, see what they really have in Wilson. And if he sucks and he's no good, then you're probably going to be at the top again. You're going to be at the top of the draft boards again, and you can pick a quarterback next year if you think Zach Wilson sucks. That's just kind of how the NFL works these days. It's very boom, boom, boom. No longer do quarterbacks get 5 years to develop. It's like if you don't show us something in the first couple years, we're moving on. And it makes sense. I mean, head coaches get fired after 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, and so why are they gonna wait on a guy and develop a guy over 5 years when they don't even get 5 years to do that? That's the nature of the business right now. So we get to the New York Giants, and I think for the New York Giants, I think Aiden Hutchinson's sitting there at number 5. I don't think he makes it out of the top 5, and I think they take him. I think what many people think is the best player in the draft falls to number 5 at a position of need for the Giants. There's nothing that's like a perfect scenario for the Giants. So that's my opinion there. Now I think it gets to Carolina, and I think Carolina potentially gets, they still have 2 of the top 3 offensive tackles are on the board. And I think they go what, in my opinion, is the best overall tackle, and that's Charles Cross at number 6. I think they go Charles Cross. Again, they're kind of in a win now mode with Matt Rule as their head coach. Matt Rule doesn't have the luxury of oh, well, I'll draft a quarterback and develop him over the next 2 years. Matt Rule has to win now. And if he doesn't, he's fired. So why should he feel like, and maybe the GM too, why should they feel like they have time to develop a quarterback? They need to win now. They have some pieces on defense. They have some pieces on offense. They need to surround whoever the quarterback's going to be with the most talent, on the offensive line and receivers and running backs. They have weapons, so I think it's Charles Cross. I think they take a tackle here. Next one we have is Giants. They got Hutchinson. He fell to them at 5. I think they're super excited about that. And then I think they shore up that offensive line, and they take Evan Neal. Now, I do think, my personal opinion is that the Giants are kind of tanking this year. I don't know if you guys saw the news. It just came out that they are not signing Daniel Jones. They're not exercising the 5th-year option. So Daniel Jones is a free agent next year. This is his last year with the Giants. And I think that doesn't mean they're gonna pick a quarterback in this year's draft. I think they're gonna kind of tank as much as you can in the NFL and take a quarterback in next year's draft. And so what I actually think the Giants are gonna do is they're gonna trade out of this pick, one of these picks, 7 or 5, probably 7 if Hutchinson's at 5. They're gonna trade out of 7, get a first-round pick for next year in order to try and ensure a top 2-3 pick next year. So that's just my opinion. But I'm not going to predict trades. I think they're too hard to predict. It just gets kind of messy. So we're just going to go how it is. If it does go like this, I think they take Evan Neal. So they get a stud edge defender, a stud tackle, and they start building that team up. 8, the Falcons are tough. I do think because they have their choice at quarterback, I think they take Malik Willis. I think a quarterback's going to go in the top 10. I really do. Do they deserve to? No, but I do think Malik Willis is the most upside here, and I think the Falcons are going to take him. They have the luxury of him sitting behind Mariota for a year or two, and so I think they go Malik Willis here, and that brings us to the Seattle Seahawks. And with the Seattle Seahawks, they get a potential top 5 player fall to them in Sauce Gardner, and I think they kind of see him as like a Richard Sherman clone, a big cornerback that can just lock down a side of the field, a lock down a receiver. You don't even have to worry about that, and that's really valuable in today's NFL. Like if you can get one guy to cover a receiver and just kind of lock it down, you don't have to dedicate extra assets to that side of the field or that receiver. That's great. So then we get to rounding out the top 10. We get to the New York Jets, and I think here again we talked about Zach Wilson. They need to surround him with weapons. They have Moore, they have Corey Davis, they still have Braxton Berrios. They have some good, decent offensive weapons, but I think especially like seeing what Justin Jefferson and what Jamar Chase did for the Bengals last year, teams are going to be really high on receivers. I don't think a receiver. I don't think there's. I think a receiver gets drafted in the top 10, and I think the Jets are a good option at taking one, and I think they take Garrett Wilson at number 10 here. Okay, so that brings us to the Washington Commanders, and I think the Commanders they desperately need a wide receiver here, and I think they're going to go Drake London. He's a good receiver. He kind of fits the receiver mold that has made Carson Wentz, his favorite receivers over the years, and like Alshon Jeffrey and Michael Pittman types. And I think that's what they go with. I do believe Washington thinks they're in a win now situation as well. And so they're trying to win now. Ron Rivera wants to win now. They have a potential defense that could win now. They need to improve on offense for sure. Okay, so that brings us to the Minnesota Vikings. And I think the Vikings, they're sitting there. They have this huge need in the secondary, at cornerback, safety. And I think Kyle Hamilton's like a perfect pick for them. He's going to be so versatile, right? Such a versatile player. He can play all over the field, deep safety, in the box, rush the passer, covering tight ends in the slot. I just think he could really be a great player, especially if you drop him into a team and a defense that has some players in it. And Kyle Hamilton can kind of just like bring that all together. So I think if he's sitting there at 12, the Vikings got to take him. So that brings us to the Houston Texans again, their second pick. So they went cornerback Stingley in the third overall. I think they continue to improve this defense, and I think they take Jermaine Johnson, edge out of Florida State. And I just think, he's a good player. He's a definitely good player. Could be top 10, could sneak into the top 10 in my opinion. And I think you get a potentially stud corner and a really good edge rusher. You can change your defense pretty quickly with that. So that's where I think they go there. And then you get the Ravens. Ravens were kind of another hard one here. I went with Zion Johnson for the Ravens. They have Marquise Brown, Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews, run game with Lamar Jackson and company. And so I think, receiver is definitely a possibility here. Jordan Davis is a possibility, but I think you kind of take what hopefully is a really safe pick in Zion Johnson, plug him in at guard and just say, like, look, we're going to get a 10-year starter potentially at guard, and he's going to fit what we need in terms of we want to run the ball and we need to protect Lamar Jackson. And so just taking a player, again, a team that isn't too far off from competing for a Super Bowl, in my opinion. They had kind of a down year last year, but a lot of injuries. But you take a player that's going to just immediately help you. I think Zion Johnson is a good fit for the Ravens. Okay, then we got the Eagles. The Eagles. I think the Eagles, if one of those top three wide receivers falls to them at 15, there's no way they don't take one. And this mock draft, it is Jamison Williams. He falls to them, and I think they're ecstatic. They need to upgrade the offense. They have Devontae Smith, you have Dallas Goedert, but who else do you have? Jalen Reagor and Quez Watkins. It's just no good, in my opinion. You get another stud receiver that can be a 1A or a 1B, and you're going to really help Jalen. It's going to help Jalen Hurts a lot. So I think they need to upgrade that wide receiver position. The Saints are another team that needs to upgrade their wide receiver room. But I think they go Trevor Penning, the offensive tackle from Northern Iowa, and they lost Armstead. They know the value of a good offensive line. They've had a really good offensive line, it seems like, for the last decade. So they kind of replenish that offensive line room right away. They get Trevor Penning to plug them right in. And I also think the Saints are another team that are kind of in like that win now mode. These teams like Washington and New Orleans, and they're in these win now mode teams that not a lot of people are thinking, oh, they could win it all. they think they can, and maybe they can, right? Like the Saints, um, they have a really good defense. They have some offensive weapons, and I think they can win with Jameis Winston. What were they, 5-1 or 5-2 last year in the first 6-7 games with Jameis Winston? So I really think they can. They believe they can win. Okay, so I think they go Trevor Penning here. um, good, and then I think if Trent McDuffie falls to the Chargers, there's no way they don't snatch him up. Staley loves cornerbacks. Um, he's all in on stopping the run. Stopping the pass. That's the philosophy he has on defense. And I know they signed J.C. Jackson, but they can always use more cornerbacks, especially in today's NFL. So Trent McDuffie is who they get. And with that, you get to the Eagles, and a player like Jordan Davis, his caliber drops to them. I think they take him. To me, there's no edge or cornerback that's kind of deserving to go 18 overall. So this is kind of just saying we're taking the best player available. Maybe not at the biggest position in need, but that changes so quickly in the NFL. Like your position in need one year, you're stacked the next, or even over the offseason, it becomes you really, really need them because of injuries. Look at the Ravens and the running backs. They lost like 3 of them, and no one thought running back was a position in need until training camp came. So Jordan Davis, plug him in. He can really help your defense. Then we get to the Saints. We talked about, they need wide receivers. They're in that win now mode. I think they take Chris Olave here at number 19. Pair him with Michael Thomas because you need someone else besides Michael Thomas to do something on offense. And so I think taking a wide receiver either at 16 or 19 seems pretty likely for the Saints. So for the Steelers, I think they believe they have a pretty good team overall. I mean, they could use offensive line maybe, or, they got the running back, they got the receivers, they got the tight end, they got good players on defense. I think this is where they take Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett gets taken here, and he can sit and develop 1 or 2 years behind Trubisky, and Steelers get their quarterback in the future at number 20. Don't have to trade up for him. And if you're thinking Steelers, it's like, when are we going to be here again? We're probably going to be good. We have enough talent to not have a top 10 pick, even with Trubisky at quarterback. Do we have enough with Trubisky to win a Super Bowl? Not sure, right? So why not, if you have maybe the top quarterback in the draft falling to 20, that's not going to happen in any other year. So might as well take him now. Okay, so then we get to the Patriots, and I think just a perfect player for the Patriots is linebacker Devin Lloyd. Fills a position in need, and he just seems like a Patriot player, a guy that they like their linebackers. I think Teddy Bruschi and Jamie Collins, and they just really like their linebackers, and Devin Lloyd is about as complete of a linebacker as you can get. So they take him, and he'll probably be a Pro Bowler because that's just how the Patriots do with their defensive players. They find these guys and they become Pro Bowlers. This next pick for the Packers, it hasn't changed at all. I've been predicting a receiver. I've been predicting Treylon Burks to the Packers, all 3 of my mock drafts. It's like, if the Packers don't take a wide receiver in this year's draft, especially with 2 picks in the first round, it's like, what are you doing? And you're never going to take a receiver, in my opinion, if that's what happens. So Treylon Burks is who it is, and I really like Treylon Burks. I think he's a great player, so I think it's a good fit. And that's what I think the Packers do at 22. Then we get to the Cardinals at 23, and here I have them taking George Karlaftis. I actually think a really good, underrated edge defender, in my opinion. He could turn out to be like kind of a steal at 23. I really like him out of Purdue, and Cardinals obviously need some pass rushing help with the loss of Chandler Jones. They could go receiver here as well, but to help Kyler Murray, make him happy. But I think they improve that defense, and yeah, George Karlaftis falling to 23, I think is a really nice pick for the Arizona Cardinals. So next we come to the Cowboys, and I think the Cowboys, I've been kind of predicting this as well, replenish the offensive line. The Cowboys have also, like the Saints, just seemingly have had a stud offensive line for the last 5, 6, 7 years now, and it's getting old. Their offensive line's getting kind of old, so I think you replenish it with a guy like Kenyon Green. Again, Cowboys were in the playoffs last year, and first round bye? Did they have a first round bye? I can't remember. Maybe not. No. They didn't have a first round bye. It was the Packers. But they were a high seed, and they were upset by the 49ers, but they're not that far off. Cowboys are not that far off. They could also go wide receiver. I could see that being a pick here. But Kenyon Green, plug him into an already good team, and he's going to help you for sure right away. So I think that is a good pick for them. Going to the Buffalo Bills, I know a lot of people have them potentially taking a running back here. I think that would be dumb if they did that. So I don't think they should. I think they're going to take cornerback Kaiir Elam from Florida. I think that guy can be a really good corner. And I think considering, again, how their season ended last year and their defense was just shredded, they need to improve that defense. They have a really good offense already. Improve the defense, and it could maybe push you over the top. Next, we have the Titans. Titans are interesting. I actually have them taking a receiver here. I have them taking Dotson. They're really thin at receiver. They don't have Julio Jones anymore. They have A.J. Brown and who else, kind of. A bunch of other guys who you don't want to be your number 2 going into the season. You need weapons for Tannehill. They were the number 1 seed last year. A lot of people, I think, forget that. It's like they're ready to win now. They got an older team with Tannehill and with Derrick Henry, an older offensive line. They need to win now. Like, they're running out of time, right? They're running out of time. So they need to win now. And I think they take a receiver to kind of bolster that receivers room. So next, we're going to go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I think Tampa Bay, with the loss of their safety Whitehead, they're going to take Daxton Hill out of Michigan. Just a good safety to plug right in. Todd Bowles is a big, he's a defensive guy, and he's a big safety guy. So that's who they're going to take there. Next, we have the Packers. And I think the Packers really need to shore up their defense, so they get an edge defender out of Minnesota. I don't know why I said Purdue. Just a potential good edge rusher, and that's they need on their defense. So kind of fill a position in need here. And next we got the Chiefs, and again, this is another pick I've been predicting with all my mock drafts. Skye Moore to the Chiefs. They definitely need a receiver, and I think Skye Moore is a great receiver that can just kind of he can really fit in with that team. So I think Andy Reid could really use him. And then they take their other position of need, and they get Andrew Booth Jr. from Clemson. So they get wide receiver, cornerback, and they really shore up 2 holes there on their offense. And that's, again, another team that's ready to win now. And I think here for the Bengals, it makes a lot of sense to take Tyler Linderbaum. Just, again, continue to shore up that offensive line. I know they've done a lot of work with it in the offseason, but you can always do more, right? And you're going to get a potential center that can be with Joe Burrow for the next 15 years. And I think that's just too valuable to pass up on, in my opinion. And he's versatile. You can move him around if you need to. And then we get to the Lions, again, the last pick. And I think I've been predicting this as well. It just makes sense to take if you're going to take a quarterback with this pick, or with, pick 34, it makes sense to pick it now because you get that 5th-year option with first rounders. So they take Desmond Ridder at 32, and they have him sit behind Goff for a year or two and see what they got with them. So that is my final mock draft. Again, it is mock draft day, it is real draft day. We are just under 6 hours now away from the draft starting, so I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope your team gets whatever player that you want, and let me know your thoughts in the comments, and we'll check this after and see how I did with the first round mock. And thanks again so much. Please like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys next time.